After a string of rocky singleton endpoints, Widgets believed that one day a single eligible query would come along. This summer, embrace the story on everyone's hearts, Widget Jones API. So Chance, what are we sharing today?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about our new Widgets GraphQL API. So this is a really exciting new API that we're introducing that is focused squarely on helping you build better UI components with WorkOS.
Probably like 2, 3, maybe even 4 launch weeks ago, we added WorkOS widgets. How does this relate to WorkOS widgets?
Yeah, so WorkOS Widgets was our initial attempt to solve some pain points around building UI with WorkOS. We give you a handful of React components that you can just drop into your app, and those components just sort of behind the scenes take care of all the hard stuff. They take care of data fetching, invalidation when you make mutations. They take care of a lot of the structural concerns with the UI of your app. And so we got a lot of feedback from users that basically said, hey, this is great. I love how easy it is to build this stuff, but I need more control. I need to customize things. I want you to tweak this, tweak that. And anyone who has shipped a React library in their career knows that opening the door to little customization things here and there, you can explode in just the number of configuration options you run into really quickly.
There's a reason that like all of the kind of like most popular libraries right now are just like, hey, we fully step back. Here's the code. You
components at all. Widgets also rolled out, I think, just a few months before Opus 4.6 came out and like blew all of our minds with how well agents can build UI. So we started asking ourselves in like an agent first world, how are people going to actually be building UI? And the reality is that if you have a really good set of APIs, the UI itself is no longer the bottleneck. The agents just need the right tools to work with. What we landed on is this GraphQL API. It uses your existing WorkOS session when you're logged into your app to authenticate you and to make sure that you have the right permissions to do what it is you're trying to do. And then after that, it's just sort of on you to go in and build whatever UI you can think of.
Well, I know you have a demo, so let's jump right into it. Let's see it in action.
Sure, yeah. So I have this application here where I've signed in, and then a members table here at the bottom that shows all the members of my organization. So our members table shows we have this role selector dropdown that you can use to actually update a user's role. This doesn't exist in our widget. If you wanted to add this in our widget, you would have no options to actually do so. You would probably have to sort of eject and like go to your debugger panel and figure out what secret API calls we're making under the hood and then start using those in your own application. But the beautiful thing about an API is that we don't really care what you use it to create. You can create whatever you want. So if I wanted to go into my page, for example, and drop in a new piece of UI, maybe a search card here where say you are looking for members in your organization, like an autocomplete sort of format, you can do that as well, right? You're not limited anymore to what we decide to ship in widgets. You can build whatever it is you dream up. And the beautiful thing about this particular UI is I didn't build it at all. It took an agent about 45 seconds to build this for me. So I didn't even have to think about it. It just has the APIs it needs, and it's able to spin up this UI in a very impressive amount of time.
If I understand correctly, this is kind of a threefold change. Like one, reimagining widgets from the ground up in light of agents. We don't have to build an SDK now for like a widgets SDK for React and Svelte and Solid and all that kind of stuff because agents are just capable of building this stuff in real time. So I guess the second part is we need to build an API that gives those agents first class capabilities in actually building out this functionality, not just like WorkOS private channels for the widgets.
Absolutely, and it's more than just the UI framework too. It's things like data caching and cache invalidation, and like all of these things that are like really complex and are abstracted away from you in widgets are now right there at your fingertips because it's just an API at the end of the day. So you can use our API, wire it up to your existing GraphQL API client. If you're using React Query, you can use React Query. If you use like whatever your code base is already utilizing for data anywhere else in the app, it can now utilize with this new API. So it's not just the UI layer that you have control of; it's also the data layer, which is really, really important because the data layer in widgets, we wanted to make it easy for you, but the trade-off there is because it's easy, it's not easily accessible. So if you want to coordinate that data fetching or invalidation with the rest of your app, that's going to be a lot trickier. But with this new API, you can integrate it into whatever data strategy you've got going on in your app today.
Now, why a GraphQL API?
Well, the great thing about GraphQL is that it was sort of designed as a pick and choose kind of thing. Like you can wire up your own queries fairly easily for fetching exactly the data that you need. So, if you take a look at some of our REST APIs that are designed for the server, they're sort of like one resource at a time. So if you want to get an organization, you got to go, fetch that organization. If you want to go fetch some other piece of data, you got to go, make a separate round trip to the server. And you have to do all that coordination. With GraphQL, you can just create the query that you want and send it all in one request and get back the data that you need and no more, no less, which is really, really nice.
What's one thing that you found interesting or that you learned while kind of building this functionality out, or even just kind of like responding to questions about widgets?
Our users want more control. They want to be able to dream up different UIs. Everyone's app is different and unique to their needs. And when we are constrained to what we think that you need, that might work for 80% of our users, but it's going to be really difficult to nail down that other 20% of nuance for those users. So the main thing that I learned both from widgets and this project is that people want more control, but they also want things to be really easy to build, and they want the end result to be a very high quality and meet that quality bar. So I think this API plus agent-driven development, we can give you both.
So, this summer, while everyone else is waiting for calls, will you stay a singleton or finally get it all with one query? Now we'd like to know what you think will be the breakout success of this launch week. High-stakes dance-off, step-up auth, or surreal sci-fi thriller 2026 in API Gateway? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss any future updates and releases from us. I'm Fantastic, and I'll see you soon.